Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the lesson taking place between Unit 1, Lesson 5, and Unit 1, Lesson 6. This is a very special simulation which will explain what a day in a life without government would be like. So far in this unit, we're talking about the purposes and functions of government and why we need it in the first place. Already in this unit, you should have learned about rights and responsibilities, generations of American citizenship, also the good and bad parts of government, immigration and naturalization, and now the principles of government. But what if that were all stripped away? What if there was no government? Or what if government suddenly dissolved? Let's go ahead and look at this. Please, before we begin, make sure you have your Google Doc open and answer the key concept questions that appear. This piece is a departure from my usual topics. I offer it as food for thought. Many people are feeling disconnected from government. They see the relationship as a one-way. Government takes in the form of taxes and by imposing rules and regulations on us, but it does not give. Truth be told, government and we the people are not just connected, we're utterly dependent on each other. Government depends on us for revenue, and we depend on government for protection and services, from inspecting the safety of our food that we eat to the saving lives when there's a human-made or natural disaster. I'm going to use a hypothetical to illustrate what a day in a life without government would be like. My purpose is to show how government, federal, state, and local contributes to our quality of life, even saving life at times. Although I have readers from all over the world, I set the hypothetical in the United States because that's where I live. Here is a day in the life without government in the United States of America. Assume it's an ordinary weekday. You have to get your toddler up, dressed, fed, and to daycare so you can get to work. For a private company, of course, since there are no government jobs. Here's how your day might unfold. Your alarm goes off. You stretch and take a deep breath. Ew, what's that smell? That foul smell? Oh yeah, it's an odor from garbage in the street. The city used to have a contract with a private company for garbage pickup, but the contract was paid out of local taxes. No taxes, no pickup. You get out of bed, you go to the bathroom, you turn on the water to brush your teeth, but then have second thoughts about it. I can't be sure the water supply here is safe. There's no government agency checking it for bacteria and toxins. It could even have raw sewage in it since all the government-run sewage treatment plants have been shut down. Teeth unbrushed, you return to the bedroom to get dressed, but realize you don't know how hot or cold it will be outside today since there's no National Weather Service. Then, you reflect on how government-run early warning systems are no longer functioning either. I won't know if severe weather is approaching, such as a hurricane or a tornado. With the troubling thoughts still in your mind, you suddenly hear a shriek coming from your toddler's bedroom. You rush in only to find that his head is stuck between the bars of the crib. Poor Johnny. You recall Professor Bernard, that would be many years ago, giving a lecture on government regulations. She said everyone complains about them, but regulations often set crucial safety standards for consumer goods. The example she used was a regulation that applied to the manufacturers of baby cribs. The regulation specifies the exact distance a manufacturer must leave between the bars on a crib, so that they're not too wide for a baby to be able to get out of the crib, but not so close together that a baby might get his or her head stuck. Maybe regulations like that weren't such a bad idea after all. I definitely should have paid more attention in her class. Oh well, what's a few bruises? Time for breakfast. You take little Johnny into the kitchen. What might the two of you have for breakfast? You ponder. Not cereal because I can't be sure the milk isn't contaminated. No government inspectors at the dairies anymore. And what if there's salmonella in the eggs? I'll take my chances on some toast, hoping that the farmer didn't use more pesticides on the wheat than the government used to say was within legal limits. At least I canned the jelly myself, although I hope that the berries weren't oversprayed with pesticides either. Oh well, this will have to do for breakfast. Having dressed yourself and Johnny in layers since you don't know what the weather to expect, you go out to your car. I'm so glad to be rid of those intrusive laws that insisted on car seats for young children. I'll just ride with Johnny on my lap. And how freeing it is not to be required to put on my seatbelt. You start the car, and are surprised to see that you have barely enough gas to get Johnny to daycare and you to work. Even though you thought you'd fill the tank the day before, I guess without department weights and measures to check the gas pumps and keep the station owners honest, I have no idea if I put in as much gas as the pump indicated I did. You go back out to the driveway and onto the road and dirt road. Darn this dirt road, you think. Oh right, it's the government that used to keep them paved. You start driving, but you keep hitting potholes. One is so deep that Johnny is thrown out of your lap and hits his head on the top of the car. He starts screaming. When he quiets down, you hear your bumper dragging on the road. It was damaged by one of the deeper potholes. You start to curse the road crew, but then remember that they were government workers, working no more. You arrive at the daycare center. When you go inside, you're confronted with 20 kids running around without supervision and with rotting food all over the floor. In addition, you look out the windows and notice that the yards aren't even fenced. You wonder if this is a safe place for Johnny to spend the day, but you have no choice. Maybe you think it wasn't such a bad idea for state government to license daycare centers so that at least they had to comply with basic health and safety standards. A wave of fear washes over you as you wonder about Johnny's future after daycare, since the public school system, including colleges and universities, are a thing of the past. Leaving Johnny at daycare, you enter an intersection, planning to turn left to get to your office. Before you can turn, a car from across the street rams into your passenger side door because the traffic lights installed and maintained by the local government are no longer in operation. You're caught in the middle of a multi-car pileup and someone appears to be hurt. You start to call 911, but it's no longer operative because it was run by government. How about a call to local police? Nope. They were employed by the government. And so, you sit in the middle of this pileup for 2 hours until a guy from a local garage arrives and pries the cars apart. Finally, you're on your way, but only for a few minutes. What's that ahead? It looks like a tree has come down and is blocking the road, and there are no government emergency workers to move it out of the way. I'll have to turn around and take a different route. By the time you get to work, you're so late that you're fired. As you're mulling over the fact that there will be no government dispense unemployment benefits in your future, daycare calls and says that you need to pick up Johnny and having his hacking cough checked out. You call the doctor and get an appointment. You manage to get Johnny to the doctor's office on time, but now you're not sure if you should go inside. How do I know whether this doctor is who he says he is? Anyone can hang up a shingle and call him or herself a doctor. There's no government agency to monitor this. Feeling you have no choice but to trust the doctor, you keep the appointment and he tells you that Johnny has bronchitis and he writes a prescription for an antibiotic. You take a bumpy, pothole-filled drive home to the nearest pharmacy, but doubts arise again. Without the Federal Drug Administration regulating which medications are safe and what the proper dosages are, how do I know this stuff won't be harmful to Johnny? As with the doctor, you take your chances and fill the prescription. Home at last. You're now jobless and worried about Johnny. You decide that you better cancel your plans to take him to the ocean this weekend. It's just as well, you reflect, because I don't like leaving the house for longer than necessary. After all, I have to protect my savings. Your savings are hidden under your mattresses because with no FDIC, federally insured deposits, to protect your money, should your bank go under, you'd lose it all. On the other hand, if someone breaks into your house, that savings could be gone and there'd be no chance of getting it back since there are no police investigators. To take your mind off your troubles, you settle in for a night of television, but have only a few network channels to choose from. You can't afford cable because price fixing among the various providers has driven the cost sky high. You recall, oh yeah, the federal government used to have laws against price fixing. So there it is, a partial snapshot of a day in the life without government. At first read, my description of the day might sound a little far-fetched, but if you think about it, it's not only far-fetched to some, but it actually could be realistic. It could be much, much worse. What if there were a fire at your house? There'd be no fire department to call. In the Gettysburg Address, President Lincoln said that the government is of the people, by the people, for the people. What does by the people mean? It means that government and its employees, police officers, firefighters, road workers, safety inspectors, terrorism experts only protect us if we, the people, are willing to pay for that protection. How do we pay? Through taxes, of course, but maybe we don't like them, but taxes pay for the services that protect our health, our safety, the quality of life, and even our life itself at times. To repeat the theme from the beginning of this piece, government needs us, and we need government. So guys, there you have it. A hypothetical scenario of a day in the life without government. Pretty eerie, huh? I think so. As much as we might say that government is this and that and the other, the fact is that we need it, and they need us. So at this time, please might I encourage you to finish answering your key concept questions and answer the challenge questions at the bottom of the doc before moving on to the video. Thank you very much, and remember, we need government.